Welcome to Wisecast. This podcast was created and fully funded by Wise Option, with the intention to provide helpful information to our users via an informal conversational video podcast. This video podcast does not receive funds from third-party sponsorship or otherwise outside donations, and only represents our personal opinions. We want to share with you our experiences, and it should not be taken as personal, business, medical, or veterinary advice. We do not disclose any of our clients' data or personal information and respect our clients' privacy. This is a conversation between us and our users, but includes information we feel may be helpful to all in the horse industry. If you are not yet a Wise Option user, please tune in and let us know what you think. Tune in while working on paperwork or on the drive home. Even though this is a video podcast, it was designed to be listened to without the video as well. So while driving, please keep your eyes on the road and save your questions for when you reach your destination. So, let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wisecast. I'm here with Eduardo Almeida today. Eduardo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Rachel. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, I'm glad at least. I hope everybody else has fared the winter weather we had this past week very well. I know it's been kind of a struggle, but glad hopefully at least warmer temperature seems to be on the way, at least out here.
Yes, it was a tough time, but now everything is clear, and we are here trying to help our users and hopefully our future users as well. The presentation we have today probably is going to save some of you guys a few $1,000, because just consulting services to provide the information you're going to receive here today, it's very costly. So we want to share the data with you today.
All right. Well, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get you up on the screen.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about vets and computers. Although we are a software vendor, I plan to be also a consultant, and I like to be, very respectful with our prospects. So I'm going to try to maintain a very neutral position here today and be as clear as possible, and try as much good data and information for the viewers in this podcast. So welcome you guys. Thanks for coming. Thank you for making the time and, trying to learn a little bit about technology. That means you care about your business and you're looking for new ventures and new ways of doing business better and servicing your customers better. Today's podcast is focused primarily on the small, I would say mobile vet practice, or small clinics would be applied at as well. Those who are looking for ways to use technology to improve their performance, profitability, and like I said, customers' experience, which is a very popular term used today among the businesses. I would invite you guys to stay tuned with us in our Facebook page. Next podcast is going to be for same topic, but more tailored to large operations, which certainly demands some adjustments and adaptation for that need. In our Facebook page, also, you're going to have the chance to explore some other interesting podcasts. A few weeks ago, we had, I would call, scientists in the horse business who came and shared with us interesting information about stallion management. And a few months ago, at the end of last year, we had also an interesting podcast about the mare management, which was a very popular one as well. And if you go through our library of other events that we had, you're gonna find out other interesting things, like people talking, about business itself and credit processing and how to integrate the team. And I have particular this one that I put in my list today to let you know, that Tour de Profit, how to maximize business potential. It was one of my favorites in the podcast list. I would invite you guys to check it out. So Our website is available in case you have questions. Rachel, I believe you're going to be paying attention to the questions that we're going to receive here during this. I would ask you guys to feel free, send your questions. Rachel is going to be monitoring and moderating this. I'm going to try to go as fast as I can to provide you as much information as I can about this presentation today. But at the end, I'm going to reserve time for questions. So I'm going to go through the topics, and at the end, we're going to talk about the questions. If you are watching this, the recorded version, just go to our website or our Facebook page and, just try to set up a custom free consultation. We have availabilities through our website where you can also, if you decide, or if you need more in-depth analysis of your business, we are here for you as well. So on our website, you're going to be able to schedule free consultations too. So next, we're going to talk about our agenda. My plan for today is to give the viewers an understanding about the business and needs. Our experience, we've been operating only with veterinarians since 2002, so it's going to be almost 20 years just working with technology, computer software, and we know very well what works and especially what does not work when the topic is implementing and exploiting technology. So one of the things that I want to make very clear is how important it is for you to understand your business and your needs. I'm going to try to put, verbs to my sentences and clarify some of the frequent confusions that people don't have since the very start. And we're going to talk about the different type of software vendors. This topic number 2 here, I would say it's not that interesting. I'm going to try to go through this number 2 as fast as I can. However, it is very important for you to understand the type of software vendors you're going to be dealing out there. And knowing that topic will be building the foundation for the next topic, which is how much you should be investing in technology for, I would say, the right dose of investment for your business. And then we're going to share with you some of our experiences in this almost 20 years operating with veterinarians in this particular niche of the market, and see how we can avoid certain pitfalls and maximize your chances, the roadmap for the success. So we can reverse a little bit that animosity that vets have towards computer programs, and instead of seeing just as another expense or something that you have to live with, something that you could bring to add value to the company and the whole work experience. So my help today, my mission today is going to be trying to help the mobile practice, like I said, in small clinics. We're going to try to understand more or less technology and focus primarily. I'm focused on how to exploit the benefits, not so much the expense, but the benefits that technology can bring to the business. We're going to understand efficiency that brings technology, and of course, that's the target. We focus a lot, like I said, a very popular topic that people are repeating themselves over and over about this topic, customer experience. And I struggle that every single practice I've been visiting out there in different levels, but the work environment and how to overcome the different, struggles people have, the frictions and how to make things better in the work environment for your operation. And interesting enough, I hope that I can even show you that it's possible to have fun with this, that at the end of the day, when things work well, you enjoy the ride, and you also can, be proud of what has been accomplished. So we're going to discuss how. The very first thing I would like to invite you is to have a very clear understanding about your relationship with technology. Needless to say that I believe Rachel and we are on the first option. We love technology. So I would, just like this beautiful lady, I could squeeze my computer in the eternal love because it helps me. It does. I could not operate without technology. I have, somehow this ability to make it a good friend. And because it helps me, of course, I like it. It does bring to me, it does make my day more efficient. It makes the tasks that I don't like so much faster, and I can put the computer to work for me. On the flip side, you're going to find, especially with veterinarians, a lot of people that say, I don't want to talk about computers, please. And gets to the point that it gets so frustrating, especially if you have already spent thousands and thousands of dollars and you didn't get to the point you wanted with technology. So no wonder. But there is a rule, I would say a book of rules that you can, or guidelines. Rules, I think, is too strict. Maybe guidelines that if you try to follow through the steps, at least our experience has been for those who have followed this particular format and answer the questions before diving to any venture, the chances for success is way higher than the average. So understand your position. I think at this point, probably most of us, it's clear about that, but not only understand it. I know that you know about it, but face it. Because if you hate it, there's something wrong there, and we need to work that out and break that, block. And that could simply be a barrier, another obstacle for good things that the business actually is looking for. And on the flip side, interesting enough, if you like technology so very, very much, it might be a problem as well. And I'm going to tell you guys what about that can be the case. So not only knowing about this, but, be open to face the facts that come with this. The very first thing that I'm going to say that usually doctors very surprised when I mention is that, in my opinion, and I haven't found yet a case that could change my mind, veterinarians, the doctors, should not be touching the computer. It's not the doctor's role to be making data entries. Maybe when you're at your house and you're studying your papers, the computer can be a good friend if you're checking pictures, if your kiddos or grandkids or whatever, what I want to say that veterinarians should not use the computer as a tool, probably as a toy, but not as a tool. In my opinion, veterinarians primarily should be touching the patient or talking to the customers. Okay, because I've been thousands of hours observing veterinarians working on the field and just seeing the dynamics, because of course I was paying attention trying to build our solution to understand the life cycle of the process. But one thing that caught my attention was the amazing situation that your customers have when they have your attention. They are in that situation that say, this guy's here taking care of this pet that I kept. This is my baby, and I love this animal, and he's taking the time to do it. So you should not be making data entry. You should not be learning computer software. You should be learning about new procedures, new techniques, and let companies like us train your technicians and deal with the things so we can create the environment around you so you can perform your role at your max capacity. So
as someone who's definitely worked on both sides of it, if I can put a little something out there.
Anytime, Rachel, please.
With my, on being both sides of being an animal owner, being I own 2 dogs and love them to pieces, but also I worked for a vet tech for a number of years, and being on both sides of it, and really I can appreciate, especially obviously from the owner standpoint, it means so much to me when the doctor comes out and talks to me about what was done, even if it was just to bring my dog in for a routine vaccine or just a routine procedure. It doesn't have to be a life-threatening thing, but that the vet took 5 seconds to come out and talk to me and said, hey, yeah, everything looked great. Your pet did great. Obviously makes me feel really good, but at the same time, also it makes me want to go back there because I feel like I now have a personal relationship, not just with,
Exactly.
I didn't check in, someone handed me a receipt, and I left.
You're not treated just like a business. You can feel the concern, and that's the appreciation. But imagine if you're there with your dog and your dog is struggling and the doctor is still filling out the form on the computer about the startup of the situation. You start off trying to give comfort. That doesn't make sense to me at all. So that's where and why I say that doctors should not be touching the computer. After all, doctors do not need computers. The business need computers. Okay. So let's keep that in mind. And that pressure, I mean, it's very strange. I see people in awe when I start my presentations, exactly bringing that point, because I should be defending and bringing the doctors into the software. There will be a moment, but not, when their primary role is taking care of the patients and communicating with customers. So yes, Rachel, thank you so much. That's absolutely right. Like I said in my first slide, this is not scientific, it's just solely based on my experience. I would separate about 30 to 70% ratio love and hate. So in my opinion, 70% of the veterinarians will just put their thing. When you touch the subject computers, they'll say, yeah, no. But 30%, they do have the technology gene. They like to participate. They like to, they love technology. Maybe because, like me, they learned that technology can be a good ally, not an enemy. Not only taking your money, but increasing your production. So, we're going to cover both in that sense, the 30, 70, but 70% really don't like. There are situations when you don't have technicians around you, or, maybe it's a weekend and you are on call, or you have an emergency. So even the 70% are going to have to learn somewhat parts of a system, but it should be the basics, and something that you can get by. I've seen doctors that just put on paper or something, and when the technician comes, they put in the computer. Of course, that's not ideal, because it's usually the systems, they have timestamp. So for accountability, when things actually happen, it would be nice. And you don't have to learn much, honestly. It's just a few things. We don't want you to, be a czar in every single button, in every single form. That's not the idea. Now, the other 30% on the flip side, they get so excited about computer and they want to learn and they want to, see everything. That computer can be a distraction. So I have seen that. I have seen people just putting the customer waiting there. Oh, and talking to the technician. I didn't see the way. Can you repeat the steps? Because I would like to learn how you did this. And the customer's just sitting by and waiting for. So if you are one of those in 30%, just be mindful. There are other important things, especially when you have the patient and the customer. That's one of my suggestions. Of course, I don't want to be arrogant here and presuming that I know everything, but it's very often to see the situation repeating over and over and over. One thing that you should be focused on your system, on the other hand, that's for sure, and that's one of the moments that I have more pleasure working with the veterinarians, is after a while, after a few months, when the systems start providing outputs. We're going to analyze at the end of the period report and analytical reports. Usually it's going to show records and data that people will be surprised. Intense labor procedures that leave very low profitability, don't allow markup, or certain drugs that are with, medications that are not with the right pricing. It's amazing the number of things you can learn. So that part, yes, I would tell you, veterinarians, you should learn in your system how to extract the information so you can measure accountability from your team and also understand how the business is performing. Now, on the other side, technicians, they must handle the computer. They have to, ideal, and my suggestion here is not even for the vets. My suggestion here is for the technicians. I would try to learn the system. I will try to use as many support hours you can, to talk to the vendor you chose, for them to help you on performing your tasks along the way. Sometimes you don't have, because you have some technicians, they have to handle the patient for the doctor and make the entries at the same time. But if you work here and there, to leave the things pre-prepared, most of the systems today, like Wise Option, has situations where you can work ahead the curve and set up the environment so you can, when you have a little time, just make the entries, or when you're back in the truck, just moving to the new location. In my example here, if you're doing some ambulatory work, you can do your quick data entries and, check your circle sheets and get it done. So technicians should be really, really masters on the tools they hand. The new generation and technology, they go, hand in hand. It's a natural thing. It seems that kids today, they are born with that. They come with them within their scripts.
But it's amazing to me still the amount of, training that you have to even do upon yourself. At least I know from my experience coming from, being a technician, even just having the tools there in front of me and knowing that they're there and knowing how they work, it was like an active reminder that I had to remind myself to untrain myself out of, entering in the information after it's done. No, you have this tool now. You can use it while you're working. You should, because it's going to save you time and you're going to be more accurate, obviously, of course, in your data entry. But it's amazing. Even I like to think of myself as at least decently tech savvy in most things. Having to actually really unlearn a lot of habits of just, breaking down of how to do things and making sure that I was actually actively using the tools that I had and that, I was paying for.
Yep. And the software vendor can work as a mediator, because we deal with so many different, people, not only veterinarians, but also technicians. And we're kind of a centralized source of information that we can share techniques. I've seen this user. So of course we never ever share data or numbers from different clients with each other, but we can share with you experiences. And there's always a better way of doing things. There's always a better way. But the point is that the technicians should, different from the veterinarians, my point is the technicians should be masters on the tool that the practice chose for them to operate. Amazes me still that we have to twist the arm sometimes for certain people and say, please use the support. We are here for you. You have no idea how much easier your life is going to be if you learn to do this in the right way. So it's really an incentive that I would give you guys to stay in touch with your software vendors, because they want to talk to you. The more you learn, the faster you're going to perform. We're going to show you how to do the same task, maybe with 5 clicks less than the way you were doing initially. Seriously, it is amazing how much time and how many clicks. In our implementation phase, we have a phase that's, of course, learning the basics. But after a while, we have what we call the click killer mode. It's exactly watching our users. So we say, okay, now you are in that point that you're feeling comfortable with your solution, but let's now exploit the side where you're going to be a Yoda of the software for your system there. The point is that we software vendors, we love our techs. That's something that happens, no question about it. You guys are source of great information. If you talk to your software vendors, I can say for our experience, our best suggestions, the best input for new features and a smarter way of doing things come from our techs. And of course, we are going to be willing and more than happy to share with you how to do things faster, just like I said. But guess what? Why software vendors like techs? If you leave and go to the next operation, you're going to talk about the software vendor in the next place. So I don't know the others there, but we treat our techs like VIP, here in our solution. But, do that experience, and I promise that you guys, this is one of the things you should keep in mind. Doctors, learn the basics, technicians dive and exploit. This is the balance where doctors just start back to our root topic, which is, okay, love and hate. Doctors, you're going to learn just the basics. And when you're hiring, when you are in the hire process, since you are not the person to deal with computer, the person who's going to assist you, that person cannot afford that, option. You have to make a choice of hiring people who get the gene for technology and go, because that's one of the things going to alleviate on your end. The question now is why doctors do not invest more in technology. I think we can have a sense or feeling from the previous topics why that happened, because naturally doctors will prefer to put money on a new barn, expand their business, or maybe they would like to purchase that fancy truck that fits everything and put all the equipment and everything to their fingertips. Maybe they want to buy a new, it's also considered technology. It's a good excuse veterinarians have to say, but I'm investing in technology. But technology that you touch, not the technology that your vets or your office people, sometimes even the spouses, because it's oftentimes you're going to find the spouses doing some of the paperwork. So, right, Richard, I think you have dealt with many people like that. And what happens is, at the end of the day, I totally understand, and don't get me wrong, these are the tangibles that provide you the chance to be a doctor. But there are other things, if you don't invest technology, guess what? Your business is going to be struggling in the background. I like to use the analogy that veterinarians are like actors. So for you to play a role, you're still going to need the stage. You're going to need the props. You're going to need the lights. You're going to need the sound system. You're going to need the curtain. You're going to need the backstage people. You're going to need you might still be an actor and just go to, any place and start performing. But the impact you're going to cause if you have this infrastructure around you is going to be way better. That's where you're going to maximize your operation. You're going to increase and grow. But your people are the ones who are going to be talking to the customer after fact. And if they are stressed out, that's not a good thing. That's going to decrease customer experience, and I think you already got the idea. And talking to the doctors, there's the friction inside of the work. Doctors, one thing that I've heard a lot of is the drama. We hate the drama. There's a lot of drama. So let's cut the drama. Why? Who does like to stay after hours, 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 p.m. at night making data entries, creating invoices or running credit card charges? No wonder the next day you're going to get somebody cranky. So how to break this cycle, the vicious cycle where doctors, when they're looking at technology, they say, okay, you have to give a chance for a change and, understand that separation and see the technology as an important tool for your business. I'm going to repeat this over and over and over because it's so, so important. Technology is not for the doctors, it's for the business. So if you want your business as a whole, you alone, we don't go anywhere. I don't care if it is a practice or if it is a bank or if it is a car dealership. Nobody does anything by themselves. We as human, we perform better when we act in groups. And you're going to have to take care of your people as well. So to change this vicious cycles where doctors primarily invest on the things they touch, here are a couple of ideas for a new approach that I'd like to offer you guys. This idea that's the business, it's already sold. I don't think I need to say because the computer program, doctor, you don't touch that. The business will, it's a need for that. One thing that you could do, it's every year, allocate certain, percentage of your investments and your planning for that year to balance it out. You're still going to, prioritize and so much is understandable that you prioritize like the truck, barn, all the equipment, an X-ray machine or an ultrasound machine, but reserve and a percentage so you can allocate for those departments as well. And a good incentive for you to do so is to start paying attention to the indirect benefit that will come to that, like the work environment we already talked about, the customer experience. Customers are going to be way more happy if they have the questions answered, an easy invoice to read, and then a credit card to pay. And these efficiencies certainly is going to create the profitability. You're going to probably need only one technician instead of two, where cost way less than an employee. If you find, things that were not charged before because they were just going through the cracks, it's money that you are not realizing before. If we can improve cash flow, you're not paying interest rates if you're using credit lines. So there are so many venues that the business can really transform the experience with technology in tangible benefits that it's not even funny. Now, there's always the chance that you're going to find those business that, they say, doctors will say, but I'm just fine with my hand notes. And indeed, I will tell you that those cases do exist. You just have to understand your situation and see if you are one of those cases. So what we're going to do next here is to understand if your business, if you are one of those that don't need technology. Very easy. If you have low volume, if you deal with, you don't have pressure, or if you don't have, if you deal with limited complexity, you don't have hundreds, if not thousands, of different codes and products and services. If you don't have administration fees, if you don't have special discounts depending on the types of customers, if you don't have those exception rules, if you don't deal with, calendars or, organizing, which is the next topic here in our slide, is, if you're pretty much predictable on your day operation, maybe that's the case for you. Another thing is that your business is static. You got to the point that you hit the limit. You're not looking for expansion. You are good in the situation you are today. You don't need money fast. You have these 2 or 3 large accounts that maintain your business. You have your cash flow. You create your reserves. You're not looking for money fast. You don't have that pressure. You have it figured out. Fine. There are situations like that out there. And if you're not expanding, like say you only work with massive large accounts, for me to get a new one of them have to leave first. That type of situation. So if you're not looking for more customers, it's another option there. If you don't need to save, if you're not looking to save money by saving time, like I said, you're pressured by either volume or complexity would be a good situation. If you check all these options above, maybe you're still in a good situation to say that your business can stay in the paper control. And we should be, as a software vendor, to identify that and tell you to say, no, you're good where you are, because computer program can be just one more thing. And maybe you're taking the spot, especially in a specialized software company like WiseOption. Maybe you're taking the spot for another business that we can really help and really needs that help from us. So this concludes our first topic, which is understanding your business. Taking a looking at yourself and making an assessment, demystifying this thing that you must learn. If you're a veterinarian, you must learn everything. That's not true. Understand where you are, where your business, position your business where it is, and so you can go from there. Next, like I said, I'm going to try to go as fast as I can to the types of software, but this is an interesting topic because that's where your money is going to. And it's not that many, but it's a good X-ray. You should have a picture because it depends on the type of people you like to deal with. Remember, it's a long-term relationship you're building here. So you have to know what type of software vendor you're dealing with before you dive into any contract or something like that. So the first one, it's an easy one. It's develop your own. You just go up there, hire some, contractors or developers. Some I've seen large corporations, they have, already an IT department in other venues, and they just design their own system. Okay, if you have the cash, if you can spare maybe $3-4 million and go for this adventure, maybe that's your answer. Or if you have already an IT department, it's not that's going to be free, because they will have to stop what they're doing to design the system for you. And probably you are reinventing the wheel. There's already something out there for you. It's extremely costly. hard to keep up with because there's always something new. It's a Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, 12, and then when you see you are on Windows 50, and what you're going to do. And then you have mobile apps and you have web apps, and the customers are not happy with this report. They want a different report. And now it's no longer emails. They want text message. It's no longer text messaging. Now they want WhatsApp. And you never know what the next is. So if you're developing yourself, it's going to be really hard for you to keep up. And the tendency for these type of systems is that you hit the point, you cover the basics that you want. I would say that these type of businesses here are very close to the paper. Maybe you don't even need technology, because if you hit the cap where you did the basic developing yourself and that's it, probably paper is a good solution for you. Most importantly, if you're developing yourself, your own system, you're going to miss the opportunity of shared experiences. Like I said, you're not participating in a pool of people with the same struggles, and you will not have anybody offering you new suggestions. So developing your own system is the first type. Actually, you can find companies and you can find your own developers. The option number 2, it's a no technique, a model, I would say, sales model, which is really weaning out and dying, for a few years. Wise Option actually left this model in 2004, 2005. That's when we stopped doing that. But when you purchase the license, you don't purchase the company, you purchase the perpetual right to keep using the system. So you don't pay monthly fees. You are actually purchasing the rights to keep using the system indefinitely. It's a one-time purchase. Updates are sold separately. If there's a new version of Windows, you're going to have to pay separately. Usually support contracts are separately sold as well. So you'll not have that type of things included because you just bought the package. Of course, that the support does not be as great because they're going to invest more time. If you see like a software company as a business, they're going to invest more time, more money into their sales team instead of their support team because they need more license sold. That's basically the main difference with the license subscription type of thing. Therefore, you're probably going to have a not so great, I'm not saying a bad, but not so great support offered to you. Usually also the systems are static, because why keep developing? We hit what the market wants. That's good unless we have an update, a different Windows version. So it's really not so much new features and stuff like that will be there. Old languages, you're not going to be on the oldest technology, and a high investment up front. If you're going for something really specific and you're diving more, this is not so much for a small operation, so I'm going to go fast on this topic here. And usually low quality in the customer support, customer service, exactly for the same reasons. They're investing more money into their sales department. You have to be mindful if you're going for, there are still a few companies practicing this type of model out there. But be mindful to really sharpen the pencil and make your numbers if you're covering everything, because it's not only the license. You have to think about the cost of maintaining your local service. Who's going to take off your backups? What is about the maintenance plan? Who's going to visit you? Who's going to take care of your infrastructures? And servers die out in a few years. So unless you're planning to have your own data center, you're going to have to make, these numbers, clear and very transparent when you are making the comparison. The best part about this model is because usually the data stays in your own computers. So you don't have to go to anybody to ask. If you're moving to a new system and your business grew and you got to the point that you need a solution that is better or higher or with more features, it's easy to get a data extraction because it's in your computers. So that's the privilege you have when you are operating under this type of software vendor. The next one is the most popular. As you can see, I'm going as fast as I can through these topics because I want to hit the next one. This is more for us to have an idea about what happens. But this is what happens. And by the way, Wise Option classifies under this one. You're going to pay a fee, either monthly, quarterly, or for annual subscription. And usually, I will say they, because I'm here putting myself in a position as a presenter, although I am a software vendor as well, but I'm going to say, I'm going to be more generic. So all the software vendors out there, try to practice a bundle. It's like insurance, the car and the house, and the home and car. And so it's cheaper if they get more services for you in one package. And I don't know if you remember the previous one, there's a lot of transferring blame. You're going to talk to on the license purchase. Usually you're managing your own server. Backing up a little bit to the previous one, the previous topic, just for a short period here, there's a lot of fight between the network guys and the software guys. If there is a problem, the network guys are going to say, oh, the problem is in the software. And when you talk to the software people say, no, the problem is in the servers, in the network. And in the middle, you never get a solution. Guess what? When you buy a bundle, you talk to the software company and you say, I have a problem, you guys solve it. So, that's why they try to sell the bundle to you. It's because personally, when I'm managing, I have to flip hats a little bit here between the presenter and being Wise Option, just to give you my 2 cents as the CEO of a company like this. It's so much easier, when we don't have to deal with anybody else. You can solve the problem in your house. And at the end of the day, our users are happy. We move on to the next thing, and let's keep the ball rolling. Now you're going to find Prime support. And the reason you're going to find Prime support is because there's no large investment up front. So software companies in software as a service type of a model of licensing, they need to keep you happy. If you're not happy, you're going to quit. You're going to move to somebody else. And guess what? The first one, the license purchase, they got your money. If you're not happy, okay. Right here is a different story. The software company. So I'm trying to show you some of the benefits, because oftentimes I'm talking to veterinarians and say, I don't like this idea about having to pay every month for this. And what actually happens is that some of those hidden costs, like a server and maintenance and backup, the truth of the matter is that usually they don't put the money on those serious topics as they should, and the business becomes vulnerable. Whereas if you outsource those tasks to a company and you put everything together in a bundle, which, by the way, is going to be way cheaper if you compare to if you did things properly on the first one, the license purchase, you're going to be covered. You have better service. You're going to have a better support. Backups are actually being performed on a daily basis as planned. If there is a new Windows or a new tablet or whatever, a new version of the software, it's not your problem. It's the software company, because it's everything included in the service. So the Prime support is one of the key, and the bundle is going to be a peace of mind. In the first impression, probably, it's like they say, the sandwich was delicious, but the stick that holds the sandwich was not so good. So what happens is that, it's hard to swallow that cost up front, especially the infrastructure cost. But you have a peace of mind, and you don't have to worry about that. Your business is covered. Therefore, your reputation.
Yeah.
So also in this system, it's way more dynamic, because they will be with the latest technology. Technicians like to use the latest technology. They call for support. They want to learn things, and they keep the developers running for the latest. So users keep, through their requests, they keep this type of company on their toes. Really, you must be on the newer technologies ever. So you're constantly, now we have another, trend going on out there. Guess what? They will know what's going on right on that. Low investment up front. Talk with the companies. They will try to have you have a taste, have a sip. It's like a winery. Here's a sip, and you have the chance to experience without putting this bunch of money up front, not knowing, just because a referral, another peer, a friend, a colleague told you good things about a particular system, doesn't mean it fits to your business. Might be different, particular situations in your business compared to a referral. So you didn't make a huge investment, so you're not stuck. Just make sure you ask about, extraction, extracting data. Here at Wise Option, actually, I don't even remember last time. I don't think we ever did. That's good to brag about that. Our users come and stay. But our policy, for example, is that, because our system is in the cloud, the database is not in your computers. Through your computers, you access your records while you're still paying. But if you stop paying, you don't have access to the system anymore. But one very important information that every single user, and regardless veterinarian or any user out there, should know: it is illegal for any company to hold your data. Companies can hold you from using their system because it's their proprietary, it's the copyright they have about creating the forms, the workflow, and the easiness of clicking here and, managing the information in an easy way so you can have the information at your fingertips. That they can block, but the data belongs to you. So, and in my almost 20 years just dealing with veterinarians, I've learned about one company, which was an absurd. I really got surprised. And they not only denied providing the records, in this circumstance, it was a license. The data wasn't the computer, and we tried because they wanted to come to Wise Option. And we want to access the data. It was encrypted, and they didn't give us the key. So they were literally keeping that user as hostages. So be really mindful that you read the fine print and you understand what the migration policy, if possible, get that in writing. So if you need or want to move to something bigger or different or more specialized on your next need, that you have the guarantee they will not keep you hostage with your data. The data belongs to you.
I know this that you just talked about. It's not quite as sparkly as everything else, if I can use that term. It's not quite as exciting as you're saying, but I think it's so important for people to consider when they do, you are looking at software, because it is an investment. And like you said, you're looking for that long-term relationship. And I know you're going to talk about this a little more later in the presentation, but you don't want to look at it as just, well, I just need something right now and I need it to do this. You need to be looking at, what it needs for now and what you're going to need, a year down the line, 5 years down the line, et cetera. Do you expect your business to grow, or are you at towards the end of your career and, this is fine, a static the way it is. And it is really important to consider, like you said, especially when it comes down to data extraction policies, and actually looking at the company itself and what type of services they offer, not just the program, the software that they're selling you. You really need to take a hard look at the company itself and go through, what do you offer for support? What does support look like? Is it just emails? Do I actually get to talk to a real person? Do you outsource your support? All these things are really, really vital questions that I don't think enough of us ask when you decide, because especially if it is a software as a service and you're paying a monthly subscription, you need to be mindful of that is something you are actively, choosing every single month to utilize. And so you want to make sure that you are getting the most out of it and that they truly are working for you.
Yep. Yeah. And you really, very well said. I totally agree with you. We're going to dive a little bit more on this indeed. But it's the point. No wonder veterinarians get so, not excited when the topic is the software, because along the road they get surprises. And I know that this topic here, this point, it's a little bit boring as far as the types of softwares and vendor, but this is the peace of mind. So you know where you are, you know what to expect, so you don't get surprises. That's what I'm trying to prepare you for. And once we break this, old habits of just going with the flow, if you make these questions up front, You're going to watch this, maybe a long presentation, but you're going to create your notes one time and you just save that, in a safe place where you can just go for it with your topics, the ones that really matter to you. And this is going to be your Bible. If you need to go in a different direction, you're going to have those answers, and hopefully we're going to save you to, being upset or having frustrations down the road. And one other thing that you have to consider is, the size of the software vendor. You want a large corporation with thousands and thousands of users, or you want a more kind of a boutique, a small business, that can provide you services as well. The difference is the large one, that's a very frequent one. I want a large one because it's a warranty. They will not, bankrupt and simply disappear, and I'm here without a system. Fair, that's true. Usually it's harder for a business to go out of business if they are really large. But they usually provide a fair customer service. You have a couple of things you have to consider. They don't have much going on because they build their, it's really hard to release a new version for thousands of users, So, and they usually are normally usually in a position that they hit the point with the basics, and that's a comfort zone for a software vendor to be in. Therefore, they're not open for customizations, especially if you have a specialty, if you're a business, and if you want to customize, if you're worried about logistics and make things faster and using the technology in a way that really can save you time, you're going to need some customization in your system. So be mindful about if the company can do customizations for you. On the flip side, you're going to have small and medium software vendors. I think WiseOption fits more in this category, which, yes, it's true. You might get an adventure company, just have a nice system, and after a couple of years, they are no longer in the business and just leave this clientele out there without any kind of assistance. I've seen that happening, multiple times. One good way for you to, prevent that from happening, it's an easy question. Just check how long they have been in the business. If they are an early bird and you're just started the day on the technology field, maybe not, but if they're being around and they have good names, maybe it was their business decision to not go for quantity, but for quality. So don't confuse those two things. Usually this type of customer, of course, they can provide you a better service. They have less people to share their attention, so they're going to really listen to your requests. Frequent updates, they're way more dynamic. They don't have this whole legacy, of old code and old technology to be, concerned about. So they're usually way more agile than the large corporations, and totally open for customizations. There was a time that when I was still coding, many, many years ago, and I was writing reports, and I was creating reports myself. And there was one instance I created a stallion analysis report, and it was crazy, an algorithm that, in my opinion, was beautiful. And I presented to the users, and the max that I got out of them was, oh, that's cool. Weeks of work, and that's the max I got. One technician came to me one day and said, Eduardo, can you put a button here on this form? And so I did. It was just a button that takes me to that other location, so I don't have to close, open. Sure, here's the button. Phone calls after phone calls. Oh my God, this feature is so great. So software vendors are open to your suggestions. Talk to your software vendors, because you guys know where it hurts. And guess what? I never ever before tried again to come up with things by myself. I just opened my ears to veterinarians and technicians, and I was, from that point on, just seeing what you guys had to say. And every time you say something, of course, I'm plugging WiseOption a little bit here. That's one of the intentions of this, but trying to help you. If you're not with WiseOption, I honestly want you to take this opportunity and try. Ask your guys. There's a good chance you're going to have that feature in your system, the system that you're using today. Dive in a different perspective, is still talking about different types of software, is the ones that are generic. We are a system, we are record keeping, we do billing. From a system that we do billing for yard services, we do billing, we are images software. So you are going for a more specialized type of operation. In the generic, very frequent question that we receive is about QuickBooks. Well, we use QuickBooks and we love QuickBooks and we stay with QuickBooks. Don't get me wrong. QuickBooks, it's an amazing software. And I say that because in our company, we use QuickBooks ourselves. But it's an accounting system we use for accounting. We don't use for our billing. We don't use for our record keeping. We don't use for our support center. QuickBooks cannot handle those things. But I surely have one license of QuickBooks myself. And most of our users, Wise Option, they do have some sort of a accounting system as well, because Wise Option does not do accounting. But please don't try to do, just because QuickBooks can create invoices and can charge credit cards, to make you think that you are, the ninja in exploiting QuickBooks and doing amazing things with, because you are way behind. You have no clue what you're talking about. Seriously, I don't want to downgrade, but you're not. You're simply not. And if you have the test desktop version versus online, stop making that question as soon as possible. Go for the online. That's my thing. Desktop is a dinosaur. It's dying. So you start with D. It's dying. So go for the cloud. And companies like Wise Option offer integration with QuickBooks. So our system can talk to QuickBooks. So we can dump the data into QuickBooks for you. But if you're saying, QuickBooks, for me personally, when you try to use QuickBooks for something that it's not meant to be, you're just like doing paper. You just created one more thing for yourself. Probably you're using QuickBooks just to make your invoices presentable, something that you can do in Microsoft Word or Excel. And probably you're going for credit card transactions, which, by the way, they are not the best fees or rates out there, but they do the job. It can be, the job can be done. But don't expect to have the logistics, the questions, and the volume and the complexity on your side, because simply won't happen. You, Rachel, you have one saying that I like to hear. What is? Can you remember the terminology that you use? You have a little quote.
Oh, for QuickBooks, yeah. QuickBooks is a beautiful. I can't remember the one off the top of your head that you're thinking about, but
no, you're saying something that the person is trying to hit the nail with a screwdriver.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to hang up a picture with a nail and a screwdriver, and you're pounding the screw into the wall with the screwdriver. It just doesn't work. It's not the right tool for the job. And just like you said before, QuickBooks is a awesome software, and it is a fantastic, phenomenal accounting software. But yeah, we've seen it time and time again where these practices are trying to use it as their data entry, their data management, and their billing and their accounting software. And it just wasn't designed for it. And so there's a lot of holes there. And it's one of those things that, and especially the QuickBooks Online, you are paying a decent amount for that subscription. I mean, and it's not something that's just to kind of bat off with. So it's really interesting to see, veterinarians that are using QuickBooks. And like I said, it gets a lot of holes, and then they kind of get stuck in, well, should I go with someone else? Do I need to drop QuickBooks? And again, just because it started off with not really, comprehending that, hey, it is really just an accounting software. It really wasn't designed to be your data management software.
True. And, I make the analogy, it's like when you go for generic systems, not specialized systems, it's like you're building a house with the ceiling for a 5-year-old kid. That kid's going to grow. And guess what? That kid's going to have to bend to get into the house. So because the ceiling and the roof, the roof you bid for that kid is no longer. So that's your business. Your business, if you're looking for new ventures, and if you're really investing your time to prosper with your business, you're like that 5-year-old kid, and the roof is going to be the generic system. You're going to bump into it. and that's going to block you from growth. All right, moving forward. Another one in generic systems is like you're going to find, veterinarians out there, they're using system. Sometimes it's a cloud system. It's beautiful. But they're either a large animal practice and the system was designed having in mind the small animals. They just make small adaptations and just changes some terminologies, make you feel that you have a system that was made for you, which is not true. Or vice versa. You can also find large animal software and you're using for a small animal. Maybe you're killing birds with a bazooka. So you don't need that much. So, we're going to talk about pricing and how much to invest. And we should go a little bit faster because it's an important thing. I think you guys are going to watch this only one time. Valuable information here. So just to stick with us because, I think, or maybe after the recording, we're going to split the chapter so you can go to our focus. But one is tied to the other. So if you're staying with us, even on the recording version, if you have the chance to watch this, it's pretty, it's going to make way more sense. But let's keep moving forward. That's very, very, very often. You're going to find a notorious large corporations out there, software vendors, but they're for the small animals. And how many large animals I have got into that they are now saying, oh, it cannot do this, it cannot do that.
Well, and the funniest part, I don't know about your experience, Eduardo, but in my experience, the couple that I've run into that, I'll just throw, a large animal place that is using a software that was designed for small animals. The biggest place you run into issues is always at billing, which is a double-edged sword, right? Because that's not only is it frustrating and time consuming to your staff, but it's also really frustrating to your clients that brought in 10 horses and received 10 separate bills for each one of their horses. So just a little bit of thoughts for food for thought. If you're, like I said, if you're looking at softwares, really, really look at what they're designed for. And yeah, like Eduardo said, you can make some adjustments here and there, but you're really going to find more often than not, it's a lot more pain than it was worth to get into.
And here's where, you're going to see the value about watching a long lecture like this. Because there's nothing more traumatic for an operation than the migration. And if you choose it wrong, you're now investing your time here trying to learn this differentiation exactly so you don't suffer to technology that many times. Imagine your business is struggling and just because you didn't choose right in the beginning, you didn't consider all the points. It might be a long lecture, but this is a true checklist that's going to avoid you from going through multiple migrations in your business life cycle. So you can also look for mixed practice solutions. It's going to be a middle tier on everything. Like Wise Option, I will be honest to tell you that Wise Option is more tailored to large animals. And we did cover the small animals because, in my opinion, the demand on the large animals in specifics and customizations, they're way more demanding than small animals. So we could accommodate both in one. It's possible to do, but it comes with the baggage of cost. It's a more robust solution. Although I think Rachel has some good news for you guys at the end of this presentation. All right. As far as pricing, if you're buying something generic, of course, it's very, very much more affordable. It's going to cost you just a few bucks. That's one advantage. But like I said, high chances for future migration to a specialized, unless you want to pay the price, because you're going to pay some price, either the price of migration or the price for your business to keep struggling, having that roof, the ceiling that will not allow you to prosper and keep moving and growing. So that you're going to pay something. That's a fact. That's a given. We're not talking about it. You're just deciding what kind of price you're going to pay. If you're going to pay the price for going through migrations, or if you're going to pay the price the business keeps struggling. Now, the specialized companies, on the other hand, this is the best option for your practice, if available. Because if you deal with reproductions for reptiles, I think it's going to be really hard to find something like that out there. Or if camelites, you do like rehab for camelites, that's very narrowed. But if you're talking more generic and there is a specific option for you out there, very likely there is, go for it. Okay? Because they understand the industry. That type of company, that particular software you vend, it understands the industry you're getting to. They go into the nuances, the little tiny bitty things that make a seamless workflow for your daily operation. It does make sense. It makes the right questions. It was developed and designed having your operation in mind. So that's what saves time. And they will think about expediting the process and customize the solution, especially, putting the effort to learn your industry. That's what we're going to do right now. Most definitely, the specialized software types of companies out there are going to be the most efficiency cutting your redundancies. Because usually if you have a generic solution, you're going to have multiple Excel spreadsheets for a bunch of other things. You have an Excel spreadsheet for this, an Excel spreadsheet for that, and you keep piling your Excel spreadsheets, and guess what? None of them talk to each other, and you have to update all these different files, and at the end, you still go to your software and manually do the billing. So
I can speak from a little bit of experience. If anyone's watching this, does Google Docs sound familiar? Yeah, using a lot of those, and still having the software on top of it.
Very, very handy to have Excel spreadsheets. It's an amazing tool. Again, it's like Rachel's example about, screwdriver for you to hang a picture on the wall. It doesn't make sense, So face the facts, and these precautions are going to alleviate your resentment towards technology. Of course, that the price is not going to be the same. I've heard something that QuickBooks, they have something like 500,000 users. Okay. If I had 500,000 users, at Inwise Option, first I would have way less hair than I do, but that's the business model I don't want for me, but it would be pennies, compared to the cost, and you can spread the cost among the users. If you have less users, you're going to get better services, but therefore there are less users to share the cost. So the pie is going to have less slices, and the slices are going to be thicker. So higher cost. It's a natural thing you should expect. And usually specialized company, our clients, for example, we still have account number 2 and number 3 and number 4, I guess. They're still active today in my option from 20 years ago. So you're looking for a marriage. That's why you're watching this far. So it's going to save you to go through these stressful moments. So there's a very low chance for migrations. You have no idea how costly migrations are. Very important thing when you're making the decision, especially if you're purchasing your system, if you're a small business and you are starting now and making your first moves, don't ask what you need now. Don't go for the checklist. You have to think about your business. You have to think where you want to be, okay? Because you might make a choice for a system that has checked all the boxes for everything that you need, but in a few years, you're going to hit the ceiling and off you go for the migration. So think big, where I want to go, okay? That's the very big secret, because it's so much easier in the future for you if you start right now. So start right now, and you're going to be saving you lots of headaches in the future. A couple of things for you to keep in mind in regards to scalability. Let me be more specific about that. Let's say that you want to increase the number of terminals. Certain systems are just single terminals instead of multi-terminal. How many terminals can I have? Do you charge per license? Do you charge per, can your system talk to each other? That kind of, if you need a quick increase in number of terminals, how long can I go from 5 to 10 users? How long can you deploy that? And will the performance be affected if I go 5 to 10 users? Because sometimes you just open the seats and guess what? The system does like this. Boom. And it becomes that huge, which was a little bird flying. It's now a huge elephant that barely can move and it's slow because the system was not prepared for performance. Okay. Another thing you have to think about, maybe you don't need all the modules, but now you don't need all the modules. Tomorrow, you might be going for surgeries. Tomorrow, you might be going for reproduction. Tomorrow, you might be going for, multi-practice. Tomorrow, you might be going from large animal only for mixed practice. Does that system you're buying today check the boxes if you're in the direction you possibly going in a soon future? Answer those questions. And never, ever buy all the modules up front. Software companies are prepared to start you with the modules you need right now. Just be aware that they do offer those features, and whenever you hit that point, when you're crossing that bridge, you use the key, you open the door, and they will sell you those modules. Not sometimes also you do need it today, but when you're implementing a system, I want you to take in consideration this. There is a limited number of data information our brains can absorb. So a software program it's built likewise option. For example, we have a very long list of features. You will not be able to learn everything in the first year. And it's humanly impossible for you to implement everything in the first year. Why would you pay for everything in the first year? So, although you need today, create a plan, see how the implementation is going to be. That's where smaller companies are better, because they're going to say, okay, here's a plan. And when you hit that point, you open the door for that module. And from that point on, I think that one of the very first quotes I learned when I came to the United States was, and I learned that on a hard way, was, don't bite more than you can chew. I was still in college, doing my master's, and they told me that when I was trying to get, 7 classes, and they say, don't go there, Eduardo, don't bite more than you can chew. So what does that mean exactly here? Don't get all the modules, because it's humanly possible. Implement one, master, go to the next. Implement that one, master, go to the next. And they will be able, if they are serious, they will be able to work that out with you and create a plan where everybody is happy, because it doesn't make sense for the company also to be selling you. Doesn't look good to them to selling you that you're not using. That's taken advantage of. Multiple data access. Make sure that, you can have a centralized cloud, the true cloud. Several companies are now saying they're in the cloud, but they're not. There's just fake in the cloud. And, if you can access your records from a desktop, regularly remote desktop connection that has a desktop type interface, but you can also access the same record and interact with that record in a web browser. And you can also do the same thing on a mobile application. Mm-hmm. Then you have different multiple accesses from the same data source. That's a true cloud. So make sure you have that available to you. Instead of having, in the previous eras, when you had your own server in place and you were considering to have, I don't know if some of you guys remember the tapes or the burning CDs and flash drives were the next step, but it was your responsibility to have backups of the system, never done properly. So now that task is outsourced to a large data center with redundancy and even geolocation redundancy. It's no longer, backups is no longer the main concern. Backup is all about now access. So that's why I'm talking about multiple access. You're transferring your attention from backup, which no longer exists. That's not a valid question anymore, because a serious data center will have a good system in place. Good question to make. But now your backup actually concern should go about, okay, if my desktop is not working, do I have other options to access my data? So that's what I'm talking about, multiple access.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like a lot of us, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just had to think, it made me think of this past week. And, unfortunately, a lot of us were reminded of that this past week when power was either inconsistent or you had no power at all. You were relying on our cell phones,
Exactly.
And battery powered devices.
We helped several users, because they didn't have a stable or solid connection enough for a remote desktop connection. And we just say, go for your mobile device. They say, heck yeah, I can keep going. I just have all my patient records right here. Very well put, Rachel. Very, very, thank you. So scalability concern is one of the most frequent mistakes, people making access for technology. Therefore, back to our root, it's when people get mad. Oh, here we go again. Here we're going to talk about, again, computer programs. No wonder veterinarians get so mad at this, because they don't invest the time among lectures like this to avoid the pitfalls, to make all the questions, to close all the doors for those bad news to hit you. So if you're watching this, if you're being a champion to watch this long, good for you. It's going to pay off. Let's move on. All right. So we already talked to understanding. I promised that it would be fast. It was not as fast as I wanted, but like you saw, it's so important to understand who you're. It's like making a marriage. You're not choosing somebody just for the short run. You're putting your business in the hand of that person. You're going to build a trust relationship with that company. It's pretty much your business, dependent on another business, because information is everything today. If you don't have records in the morning, you simply cannot operate.
Yep.
Next question is, how much should I spend? Wrong question. Not spend. Invest. That's the very first mistake, people. It's not expenditure. Although in your accounting system, it's called expenditure because you can, deduct from your profits. It's actually an investment. And it's an investment because you should not, and I'm going to show you more details, put money in technology if it doesn't return to you at least the double. Let's go into that. So here we go. How much should I invest? There are different aspects when we are talking about investments. Money, the financial investment you make into your new solution that will run your business. So it's actually the capital. Time, because implementing a new system, you're going to have to invest your time. It's a different commodity you have, and you only have 24 hours a day. So you have to invest it wisely. Okay? But then you also have to consider the return on investment, which is, in my opinion, the key factor here in our conversation. So I'm going to start actually with the last, the return on investment. And the reason I'm going to start here, because it is the most important analysis you have to make when you're going for a new system. Of course, taking in consideration everything that I said before, but those things I said before is what's going to compose this analysis here. Okay? Let's say that you decide to go for investment and you invest $2,000, let's say this license here probably is going to be a subscription if you're a smart guy because you want a bundle, you want to outsource, you don't want that thing, you're going to go for the latest, you want the latest technology. Very likely you're going for subscription. You pick one that costs you $2,000, that subscription is going to cost you around $2,000 a year. I know that QuickBooks, it's like starts at $400 or $500, but I will not even talk about that because I was clear enough about, that separation. That's not a system that will help you. But it doesn't bring you return on investment. You're going to invest in $2,000, and when you look at the return, I'm going to talk about how to assess the return, it doesn't return you anything. On the other hand, there is another system that is going to cost you $10,000 a year in subscriptions. But when you make your assessment about the benefits that system brought your business, intangible benefits, you actually are having a return of 20 grand. Which one would you do? I have the question right here. That's a no-brainer to me because actually I see this not as investment. This is not an expenditure. I'm actually having 10 grand extra, in my bottom line. Now, how to calculate this? You have to take into consideration the labor and time that system is going to save you. So the system must save you something in that. Efficiency in charging your services. It's known that several practices out there don't charge for the things they perform properly. So you're literally giving services away, free money to everybody, okay? I've been to a lecture that they say, estimation about something between 10 to 20% or average 15%. One of the presenters said, you guys are crazy. It is not less than 30%. And I'm sure about what I'm saying. So I'm going to take 20%. So 20% of your things that you're, money that you're not collecting just because you're not charging properly. That should be considered in your return of investment. Cash flow improvements. If you're getting the money shorter, so if you have a system that is more efficient collecting money from your customers, therefore you're probably going less times to credit lines, or you are making better investments with the monies in your bank account. That has a spread, and that should be considered in your return on investment analysis as well. The customer experience, like we were mentioning, which is so popular out there today, they're now converting this customer experience into tangible assessments. They're saying, okay, if one customer brings me 2 new customers, those 2 new customers, how much they brought to our practice, and that those 2 extra customers or new customers came because they are happy with us. Okay, and I bet that only your role as an actor on the stage is not the only factor that made they happy. There's a combination of several variables within the process. So how to calculate this? It doesn't need to be precise. We are here. We can help you. Rachel, it's one of our very savvy people. She has tools that we have built where we can calculate straight to the point based only on the first one. And usually our analysis is more likely on the labor and time only. But you could go for the other 3 as I mentioned here. And there are other factors. I'm just trying to show you how you can have an idea. But one thing is for sure, you should start, paying attention to this number. That's the most important one. Next one is about you have to make an assessment of time because it takes time to implement a good system.
I'm so glad you brought this one up. This is like, to me, I mean, I know you're going to talk about the very important financial investment in it, but time, it's something that I see quite frequently, and I've been guilty of it myself too, right? You invest in, you make that financial investment into something, and you kind of at least I've gone into something and kind of invested in it, but like, all right, it's got to work. because
Yeah.
I threw a bunch of money at it and I said, yep, this is what I paid for it. But I never considered on my end what I needed to invest in really was also just as equally as my financial investment was also the time investment as well. You can't just look at something and put a bunch of money into it and expect it to be that customized and work exactly as the way you want to for your business without investing some time into both you learning the system and then also obviously, of course, making that time and making that active commitment to, maybe change your workflow and be open to changing your workflow to let that system help you.
That's exactly it, Rachel. So now, and that's the cause for the frustration as well. I put this whole money and they haven't prepared their expectations, being aware of the time, because without the time, it simply won't happen. If you don't, the software company will not go there and start making the data entry for you. So you have to be prepared for that. And the frustration kicks in right there because they say, oh, I haven't considered this factor. That's what I'm calling your attention for this. Time is another thing you're going to put in the basket for you to make your assessment. Now, having that said, you have to think about that time like you think in the money return on investment. So if you go to the stock market and you put money there, what happens? You're going to have interest back, of course, if you're a great investor. And here I'm thinking that you chose the right system listening to this lecture up to this point. So you're going to choose the right system. So you made the right investment. Now you're going to learn the system. You're going to have somebody training your staff, your technician, if you're a little bit larger, your project manager inside, your office people, whoever, and that system must save you hours. So you have to perform the same tasks and more with less time. So think about time like I'm going to invest time, but I want time back. In other words, I want things that I usually do the system doing for me. So I have, extra hours that the system is going to save me in that process. Invest more time, you're going to gain more time. If you take the time to interact with the software vendor and learn what they are eager to share with you, all the hints and tips on how to be more efficient, reduce the number of clicks, and complete the same tasks with less 30 minutes or an hour. At the end of the month, you're going to be saving, dozens and dozens of hours that you were just as smart enough to make the computer to perform those tasks for you. So the more you invest, the more you gain. If you don't make the investments like money, don't expect return. You can just keep the money under your mattress. You're not putting the money to work for you, okay. But don't expect gains either. That's the rule. So if the system will not save you time, because oftentimes we're going to see people just because of suggestions and peers, they end up making the wrong investment, and actually the system becomes another thing in the pile of things that you have to do. You're still doing your paperwork, you haven't replaced, you're not paperless, and the computer just became one more thing. Don't do it. That's a fact. So now let's talk about the financials. Let's talk about money. When we are talking about money in the software, if you're a doctor and you are watching this, it's like medication. It's all about the dose. So I'm going to use an analogy here and a patient medication for you today. So suppose that you find a patient and you find a case and you prescribe a specific medication and you say, I want this patient to be 14 days, taking 10 meals of this particular medication. What happens if instead of the 10 meals, the owner of that patient gives 14 days only 1 meal per day? It won't work. So if your business needs a certain type of solution to start giving you a return on your investment, and you go for a generic system, don't expect solution. You're just investing in disappointments. You're just wasting resources and time. That's all you're doing. If you don't pick a right professional to advise you in the right direction and have a commitment with your project and who can prove you tangible return on the things you do, that's what you're doing. You're picking the patient and you're expecting the patient to be good. After 14 days, take 1 meal of that drug.
Yeah. And that's definitely, I feel like, the case where it turns out to be, that's just one more thing for you to do. Again, picking, going back to the software, picking a solution that's a generic one that's not really designed for your business. It just becomes one more place for you to enter data. Yeah. You wanted to record the data. That's great. But how is plugging it, if it's not going to save you any time, how is that any different from writing it down on a piece of paper if you're not actually saving anything?
On the flip side, if you give a bottle of that drug to the patient for 14 days, you're going to kill the damn thing. It's going to die. It's dramatic here the way I'm doing, but I'm just exaggerating to make my point. My point is that if you have a system and you put a lot of money, and like my example on the modules, that if you buy all the modules up front and you don't need all those modules, it's a good example. They're going to be sitting there and just getting dust, and it doesn't work. So it's, when we're talking about money, it's about the right dose, not more, not less. Therefore, don't let the money scare you. Sometimes we're going to present, we have been dealing with sometimes very large operations, and they get a large bill, a large projection in costs, because they need all the modules, they need a bunch of servers, they need a bunch of users, and they need all the features. And when they say, whoa, they're focusing on the money. That's wrong. That happens also with the small practices, because especially when you're dealing with the generic systems instead of specialized, you're used, like QuickBooks, you're used to $400 a year. Don't expect the comfort of a Mercedes in a Toyota. Okay, that won't happen. I'm not saying Toyota is a bad car.
I was going to say, you can't say things like that. My Corolla's sitting right out there. I get
just set up your expectations. That's my point. You don't want to impress as many people if you could. In that case, we are trying to impress your customers. We are trying to impress, other business, your partners, with efficiency. So don't focus. That's why I wanted to so badly talk about return on investment very first, because if we talk about return on investment very first, what's going to happen is that you understand now that's not actually how much you put in the business. I could tell you, give you a bill that you're going to invest $30,000 a year on Wise Option, for example. Here, I'm making one large number here just by chance. But if by any chance that system returns you $70,000 after crunching all the different fronts, actually you're having a gain of 1.5%. So in your investment. So that not saying that you're going to have to put that money on us. I'm just exaggerating here to make my point. Actually, the money you should expect in average is that small businesses, this is a fact, statistical numbers, universities, scientists crunch the numbers. The average in the United States today for small businesses is to invest something between 1% and 3% of their gross revenue into technology. So that's the average out there. Some other businesses, they can go as high as 7%. But there's a very specific thing where technology is the key factor, like website companies and stuff like that. So Google, Microsoft, and of course, that makes perfect sense. But if technology and computer systems are just a solution, a tool for your thing, that's what you should be more point into that average. Our average here today, just you can have at least an expectation before you contact our sales department or any sales department. You should expect we are on the low end. So usually we are in average about 1% of gross income revenue. And our average, instead of twice, 200%, our return on investment is usually, I think, over 300%, right, Rachel? 3.4, 3, sometimes even 4 times, depending on the case. We can guarantee, the return on investment. So again, we're not focused on how much you're investing, but how much we can save you. And most importantly, if it is about money and you're talking to SaaS, software as a service, subscriptions, they want to, it's a long term, they're going to be flexible, and usually they're going to have some promotions going on. Just be mindful that you ask about that. Okay, so we crossed, and how much you invest in technology. So let's go to the last one and we can wrap this up. But this last one, I think it's where people are really eager to hear, where the mistakes happens, the pitfalls, and, they end up not hitting the road for success. So it is really good when we see that those that could avoid the most frequent mistakes, and they do their homework, they make the right choices, and they really celebrate at the end, how things, were really successful. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you is that don't be against change. Embrace change. You are where you are today, which is different where you were a few years or months ago because of change. If you didn't have change back then, you would not be where you are today. And if you don't make changes today, you will not be in a better position tomorrow. So I've talked to so many people that amazes me. They proudly say, I don't like change. I don't want change. And I'm good the way we are. Okay, you're ready. Basically, to me, they're saying they're ready to die. They're prepared to die. Because what moves us in life is, improving, get better. Not necessarily, maybe not improving the numbers or making more money, but making what we do better, providing better service, being excel what we do, doing, just improving ourselves. I think that's one of the most reasonable things for us to consider as reasons for keep living. It's just to do things better. Okay. Amazingly enough, also, sometimes I've seen people cheering against the project because they start doing for wrong reasons. Pressure from the spouse, a colleague, how you're not doing this yet, or wrong impressions, or just to be fancy, just to say that they use the system. I don't know. But I've seen sometimes people go into the pitfalls. Those are, usually the most frequent things. People don't start moving for change or starting for the wrong reason. Okay. Yeah. The next thing that I've seen a lot is not understanding what's ahead. So if you don't understand what is ahead, you don't have expectation. My wife, she is my source of wisdom. If you want to be, happy, set up your expectations. That's what she says, because you know what to expect. In Wise Option, we say that you're going to have 4 phases. The phase that you say, I don't know if I should do this. That's in my 20 years working with vets, that phase number 1. Phase number 2, every lecture I give, I mention about these phases. Phase number 2 is where they say, we are ready in the project. They, made the leap of faith. They signed up and they're in, they're learning, they're moving, they're doing the migration. The phase number 2, they're like, what was I thinking? What mess did I create for myself? That's phase number 2. And just a few weeks later, usually on the second billing cycle, that's when phase number 3 kicks in, which is, why haven't I done this before? They start realizing how much time they were losing just by doing things not efficiently enough. And the phase number 4, which is the one that we don't like so much, is when they realize what it's possible to do with technology. They start doing, can you also do this? Can you also do that? And then they start, dumping requests on us. But I'm just saying this as a joke because actually these requests is what keep us moving. So have a plan, create your expectations. That's one of the very first the most popular mistakes I have seen, is because they don't understand. You see that I'm also close here to 2-hour presentation. I'm saving you guys here thousands of dollars in consulting. If somebody has the guts to go this far and to take your notes, you're saving you right here at least $5,000. Somebody would help you through this process. No kidding. But prepare yourself, and know what you're dealing with. After doing this assessment about your personality, your business needs, understanding software vendors, and understand what's come, talk to that software vendor and let them go. Once you choose that person, trust in your process. If you don't trust, it's like, and as you guys can see, I like to tell stories. So even with my poor English, so I keep, taking the risk. But it's like the veterinarian who visit the trainer and a lame horse, for example, and they prescribe, and the trainer just comes back to the vet and say, that won't work. I know this horse. I ride this horse every day, and what you're doing here, it will simply not work. Why did you call the doctor? So if you go through the homework choosing the software vendor, and if you did your homework, if you called other companies, of course I'm suspicious to say anything about Wise Option. That's why I offer you a list of the users we have so you can call them. Don't talk to me. And of course, I'm going to say only great things about Wise Option. We are the Wise Option you can have in your menu. So that's what I'm going to say. Call the people who are using, and why are you so long with them? Practice that. Maybe you're in a different industry or you different needs that Wise Option doesn't cover. Reach it out. But anywho, you go and, if you must trust. Once you decide to call the doctor and the doctor prescribes that thing for you, follow through, And I've had very few deceptions. I don't like to talk about failures. Everybody does have. Those who don't recognize are liars, So did I. Luckily and hopefully, there were not that many, but and for a long time I thought it was my fault. But later in the close examination, I could see that those that didn't fail is because they didn't follow my prescription. Therefore, they didn't follow my advice. Therefore, there was no trust. So embrace and trust the professional you are, taking for this project with you. Wrong dose. You are giving the horse just one meal and expecting it to be good. So another mistake. This is kind of a summary of everything we talked so far, but I'm creating here the recipes of the most frequent disappointments I've seen out there. Either for the ones that haven't taken the leap of faith, or for the few ones who did for the wrong reason with the different solutions. And yet there I see the case, they're already on the third migration, and still not happy. No wonder the guys, are going to jump high when you talk about computer systems. Very understandable. Scalability, hit the ceiling, multiple migrations. Try to avoid the migrations. The migrations, migrating, there's nothing more traumatic for your staff than migrating system, and for the vets as well, because it's really, by the same token, it's the largest barrier that holds the system back, the businesses back. They will say, no, migration again. Let's stay with this system another year. Oh, let's stay with our paper for another year. Oh, let's stay for another year. And I told you, you are paying one way or the other. There's no way out. You're paying. You think you're not, but you are. You are. I promise you are paying. Your business is suffering, struggling, and not hitting where they can because of that option. Vets who focused on personal needs, they prefer, no, I'd rather build the new barn or, buy more equipment. I don't touch computers. We don't need computers. Uneducated decisions, go by the impulse. Don't do your homework. Don't watch, lectures like this. Don't prepare yourself. These are the things that are going to block you from celebrating towards the end. Wrong expectations. You think just putting the money, just like Rachel said, here's my cash, solve my problem. We don't have a magic wand. We can share with you, we can train you, we can prepare you, but still you are the one who's going to execute. So, set up your expectations and be mindful about this. It's not long. One of our hardest projects, and here I'm talking about my next presentation, which is about large operations. It's usually 6 months, give and take. I'm not talking about when you're developing a system or a new project. I'm talking about a project that's done, ready to go. You just have to implement. So when you have something, 6 months is the largest, I guess, I have faced so far. It's usually 2 months, 3 months, and you cross the phase of, what did I do? That's when you get to the phase number 3 that I was mentioning. So wrong expectation, therefore there's no engagement, and it becomes just money in the drain, disappointments, and so forth. And like I said, it keeps holding, that's another one. I already mentioned this, but I wanted to double dip on this one here because it's so important. You keep focused on the hard part, and you should actually be focused on the benefits or the clear water you're not offering to your business. Don't let the migration be just a barrier for the status quo, maintenance of the way you are, and keep struggling with your situation. So making the time, making the investment in cash, but not thinking about the time. So again, I'm just creating for you a list here. Everything that I said so far, I'm giving you a summary of the things, that I face more constantly, more constantly. Constantly is the bad word. It's my bad English already.
Consistently.
So many words. Yeah, consistently. Thank you. Seen in my interactions with struggling businesses. So this is another thing that happens a lot. Not reviewing procedures and protocols and methods. Because you're implementing a new software, for example, in your operation, it's a good time also because you're going to have to review the workflow, the paper flow. It's not only a great opportunity, but a must do. You're going to break the things and build in a different shape, a more efficient shape. But people get scared about the fact that you're breaking that kind of operational, mode. So that's what we want to do. We want to break. And usually, I think helps a lot if you get external help. If you go to our Facebook page and especially watch, I really like to pick on the brain of that guy, Rich Allen, with the Tour de Profit. Not necessarily. Yeah. I use that guy for helping Wise Option to go to the next level, and I've seen them helping, veterinary practices. He worked with our veterinarians. It's a person that I feel comfortable enough to refer, but my point is that you should have an external professional helping you to coordinate and prepare the expectation, especially, I think this is more going towards the medium to large operation. It's one of the topics I'm going to explore. If it is only the vet and the technician, still, maybe you don't need the help. But if you're a small clinic and you have maybe 5 employees, it does already fit this condition, okay? So these are the most frequent mistakes, and if you can avoid this, you will for sure hit the road You're going to have in your hands the roadmap to success, and you just follow through, make this happen, and technology is going to be a very, very good friend of yours. I promise you that. So it is very possible, because I have seen so many times people looking at the computer and saying, golly, I really like this. Technology only makes sense if it brings to you profit. It should not be another expense. We don't put computer systems in businesses just for the business to say they have. It's not like brand clothing. It's a tool. It should bring profitability. Okay. And interesting enough, it can be fun. And it can be fun on the fact because, I promise you, if you do this and you get there with or without Wise Option, it can be with other systems, and a customer calls you and you have the answers right on the spot, you're going to feel so good about that. And just knowing your business and having your business in your hands, that gives a good sense of accomplishment. It puts down the stress, and you become to have a better workplace, a better work environment for your crew. At the end, I even see the vets, especially large operations who don't like computers. Oh, sister, look at that screen on the wall, and they start bragging about this, although they ever touch the computer. But it's good when they bring their customers, and the customers see the infrastructure that involves to take care of their babies. That's a good thing. And that's like that at the end of the day. That's why I started just saying that, maybe veterinarians should not touch computer that much. Just use technology as one of your tools. And another thing that I can share with you, a very, very positive side, because I've seen this so many times, they get through and they said, it was not that hard. Of course, the tension, and you create the monsters in your head and all these ghosts. If you have the proper guidance, if you have a proper leader that knows what you're talking about, and you trust them, and you go follow through the plan, you're gonna just cross the desert, and you're gonna see the oasis right there and enjoy your resort. I promise you that. Review your notes. And make sure that at the end, you make a Wise Option, because, listening to this and checking the list, I'm pretty sure that you have the tools at your hand, at your fingertips to just go happy with this. So thank you so much for, if there is anybody who was able to endure this long presentation, but as you can see, it's not an easy thing. Visit us at wiseoption.com if you want to go deeper or in a more custom attention. We do have free consultations. Of course, it's not going to be 2 hours, probably a 30-minute phone call, but we offer, a piece of advice, and that's free. We are happy to share with you, the community. And if Wise Option is not the solution for you, we will be very, very happy to, lead you in the right direction and help you to achieve your success. If you are not the customer for Wise Option, I'm pretty sure just being well treated, you're going to send one of those, in our direction. It's like I said, if you like us, tell your friends. If you don't like us, tell your enemies, but tell somebody about Wise Option. Thank you for your time. Rachel, it's all yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Eduardo, so much for sharing your knowledge. Like I said, being in business since 2002, right there at the start of that. That's just the wealth of knowledge. Thank you very much for sharing all that with us today. I really appreciate it. And like I said, of course, this will be, posted here on Facebook, and it will be on our YouTube channel as well. But there is one more thing that I can't not talk about. And Eduardo, you're going to kill me. I got to do it. So
please go ahead. I think if there's anybody listening to this, they deserve, if they have gone this far, they deserve this little gift. Go ahead.
All right. So I couldn't, with this podcast today, especially being, we have our one coming up soon after this. Is going to be large operations and technologies. And like Eduardo said, this one is really more geared towards small practices, small operations. And so I wanted to offer you guys just a little bit of tidbit extra here as well today. So I'm really, really excited to announce that here at Wise Option, we've always tried
to shoot your presentation.
I have it. Yep.
Okay, okay, gotcha. My screen has not updated yet. I'm sorry about that. It was
That's
my
all right.
Go ahead.
So I couldn't just let this pass me by. And, here at Wise Option, we've always tried to be, provide for the needs of the industry and the ever evolving needs, but also the variety of needs. Like Eduardo's saying, there's so variety of needs from training to veterinary to boarding. And we try and provide as much as we can for as many as we can. And so today I'm excited to announce a Wise Option Lite. And so today I don't want to go over too much just yet. I don't want to give away too much. I gotta leave a little more suspense in there, but you guys are the first to know about our new product. So with Wise Option Lite, you will have that accessibility that comes with the cloud server, being able to access your data wherever you have internet access from, whether it's on your phone or a web browser. You'll get that simplicity and, of course, the option to scale up at any time, at any point. All that horrible data migration that just weighs on everybody, that won't be a thing. All at a really affordable price. Wise Option Lite will be coming this summer. And it's going to be ideal for small practices, whether it's small veterinary practices or small mobile veterinary practices, boarding facilities, training facilities, all the like. And as one extra thing, again, this was a really long presentation, I'd like to give you guys the opportunity to be the first ones notified when a Wise Option Lite is available this summer of 2021. And as a bonus, I also want you guys to be able to get a discount on that monthly subscription as well, in addition to its already affordable price. So just as a note, this is not a commitment to purchase Wise Option Lite right now. This is just you being able to be the first ones to be notified as soon as it's available and locking in this promotion if and when you do decide to go ahead and sign up as well. So Wise Option Lite will be offered for $139 per month. But if you send us an email in the next, I'm going to say 2 hours now because this was a 2-hour long presentation. So in the next 2 hours after this podcast ends, if you send us an email to this email, info@wiseoption.com, with this information, your name, your business name, and the promo code LIGHT2021, you can subscribe for only $99 a month for the first 12 months. And as a little extra incentive, because it was a long presentation too, you know what? The first 3 months are going to be free, and that's going to be on us. So again, that's $40 off the subscription for the first 12 months, and the first 3 months are going to be free. Again, this is not locking you into buying Wise Option Lite. This is only locking in the promotion and you being the first to be notified this summer when it becomes available to you. And like I said, locking this promotion as well. So again, make sure you email info@wiseoption.com within the next 2 hours after this podcast ending with your name, business name, and promo code.
I think that was a smart move we made, to offer a simpler, lighter version of the program, not without all the bells and whistles, but that has all the power reserved in the backstage. As soon as they're ready, they unlock the doors and they exploit everything without having to go through the migrations. We are very hopeful about this product, and I think everyone should, just, if it is something that you want to experience and be with us on the long run, we would be really happy to have you with us. Good job, Rachel. Thank you.
Of course. And if you're watching this after the fact, and if that promotion has then ended, please continue to go ahead and like the Facebook page. Send us an email if you're curious, but like the Facebook page because we'll be making more announcements as they come, of course, in relation to our business in general and Wise Option Lite, our new product. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Like I said, no, it was a long one. Be sure to go ahead and check out our Facebook page, YouTube videos, etc. Thank you guys so much and hope to see you all next week.
Thank you. See you next time.